Welcome to another Espresso Agent Mastery session. I love these. The good people at Espresso Agent make sure that they are bringing added value to really all agents, and especially those who are clients of theirs and using the Espresso Agent tool. And the Espresso Agent Mastery session is this incredible opportunity to kind of learn from the best and realize some best practices. So we go out, we get great coaches like Coach James to volunteer an hour of his time, which is very precious. So we're very thankful to all the coaches that come through here. We do about about two a month. And so I'm going to give you guys thumbs up for investing in yourselves today. You've taken a little time out of your day for some personal growth, and that sets you apart. So good job. Couple housekeeping items, then we're going to get started. One is you'll notice that you guys are muted. Please know that is not because we don't want to hear from you. We do want to hear from you. It's strictly for our listening enjoyment. Inevitably, somebody has something going on in the background and it gets really distracting. So that's why we've muted you. But the chat bar I think it should be at the bottom of your screen. That's where it is on my screen. Is how I'd like you guys to communicate. If Coach James is saying something you like, go ahead and just say, hell yeah. Or if you have a question, type it in. If you're thinking it, somebody else is thinking it as well. So be the hero for the group and ask the question. There are no bad questions for sure. Also always gets asked this question. Can I get a recording? Can I see this again? And the answer is yes. Espresso Agent will put this on their YouTube channel. They have a great YouTube channel where all of these sessions are, and you can go back and kind of see the heading or the topic or the subject for the day. And there's some great stuff in there. So you may even want to subscribe to that channel. All right. And then, last thing is we have another mastery session coming up. I want to get the date straight here. It's actually next week, the 23rd of January, where Mike Stott is going to be coming at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And Mike Stott is awesome too. And he is going to be talking about objections and how to turn any objection into an opportunity. And so we may be actually touching on some of that today too. But you never get enough practice on objections, that's for sure. All right, guys. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you Coach James Houghtaling. He is, like I said, a repeat guest here. He's in Rochester, New York. He's a very well-respected real estate coach. He has lots of one-on-one clients. That's how he operates his business primarily. He does other things as well. But today, we're just going to dive into expireds, aren't we?
That's a good way to put it. We're going to dive in. We're going to talk about some things, beyond just the script. I think the script is an important part, obviously, but there's a lot of other, components that go into really being good with expired listings. So try to touch on as many of them as we can.
All right, let's do it. So do you want to just get started? And then I'll let you know if we've got some questions along the way, or if I have a question, I'll raise my hand.
For sure. Yeah, we can do that. So again, as Monica said, just really appreciate you guys being a part of this today. And one of the things that I say on all the live stream training that I do is that there are two things that I try to show up with at an event like this or a webinar like this. The first thing is to make sure that you guys come away with knowledge, that you come away with something that you can actually put to work, right? And actually use. So we're trying to make this as real as possible, as relatable as possible. And then the second thing is I want to leave you with the motivation to actually go out and do something, right? Because it does no good at all if you show up at an event like this and you take notes and you think, wow, man, that's great. That's a great idea. I love it. And you comment on it and you do all this stuff. But then you go right back to life as usual and you don't actually implement or take action. So really your job today, guys, is twofold. Your job is, number one, to find at least one thing that you can take away from the conversation today that is meaningful, that is relevant to where you are right now in your journey with expireds. And then the second thing is go do something with it, right? It's take action, change your behavior, change your results. So I guess I would just start by, that's kind of the way I try to start off most of my events. So Expireds. I wrote down just a couple things. I may glance at my notes from time to time because I don't want to forget any of these. But as I was saying just a second ago, the script is important, right? The words that you would use, you know, what do I say? But let's be honest, guys, especially in today's world, so to speak, you can go right now if you wanted to, and you could probably find at least a dozen versions of an expired script. Okay, you can go to Facebook, you can go to social media, you can go to YouTube, you can go to all these places. So while the words are important and what you say is important, there's a couple of things that I try when I work with my clients on. I try to get them to think about. Number one is their mindset with regard to what they're talking about, whether it's expireds or follow, presenting or whatever, right, Monica? I mean, you know, and we've talked about this, that your approach and your thought process with regard to what you're about to do is really it sets the stage, right, for how effective you're going to be. So I just want to kind of talk about a couple things related to that. And then the other part of this is the level that you choose to take on of practicing, right? Of really developing your skills, because this is a skill set, right? Working an expired listing, working a FSBO, doing a listing presentation, all of these things are skills that you can learn, that others have learned and others have done really well with, but you're not going to get there unless you commit to practicing. Mm-hmm. So we'll maybe talk just a few minutes about that as well. And then obviously we can jump into the script too, if you want.
You mean I can't become a master on the phone without practicing?
I'd love to say yes. Believe me, if there were a magic pill, I would be marketing it and trying to sell that thing for as much as I could get. But, you know, I hate to say it. I mean, I ask clients all the time, hey, is there anything you're really good at, you know, that you've maybe done for a long time, of playing an instrument or a sport? Mm-hmm. And invariably they'll say, yeah, I'm pretty good at this. And I say, well, I'll ask them, how'd you get good at it, right? And how do you stay good at it? And again, they always know, oh, it's practice. Mm-hmm. But somehow it's like we disconnect that. Mm-hmm. You know, we just think that whether it's by osmosis or maybe slipping the script under our pillow at night or something, that we're going to absorb this. Right. And the reality is, man, you got to put in the time. You've got to commit to practicing and becoming a master at whatever it is. So today's whatever it is expired. That's what we're talking about.
That's right.
Okay. So again, a couple things. Expectation, right? What should I expect? What should you expect when you start to work expireds? Or if you're already doing quite a bit of work with expireds, what should you be getting and what should you be looking for? So this is part of the mindset, because so often I'll talk to an agent and maybe they've never really done much with expired. So we kind of go through a conversation, give them the script and say, okay, go out this week and let's just commit to talking to 10 expireds or 15 expireds or whatever this week. We pick a target, right? And invariably they'll come back if they've never really done it before and they're completely discouraged by what happened. And they'll start to tell me, well, you know, this didn't happen or that didn't happen, or I don't have any listings yet or whatever. And I'll say to them, well, okay, part of the challenge is you got to know what to expect going in, right? So expireds, just like most any other form of prospecting, it's a numbers game, right? You're not going to get them all, and it's not an emotional game. So you have to be careful to not be attached to any individual conversation that you have. Right?
How do we detach? How do you that's easier for some people than others, right?
And it's much easier for me to say it than it is to actually do it. So part of that is you've got to remind yourself, like every day when you get ready to prospect and lead generate, you need to go through, and maybe you do it through affirmations. Maybe you do it through journaling. Maybe you do it through some other means, but you remind yourself, right, that this is a numbers game that I'm about to engage in. I'm not going to get them all. I couldn't handle it if I did get them all, right? You'd be so overwhelmed if every single person you called said, yes, come list me right now. Okay. But the truth is that only a percentage of people out there are actually motivated to sell their home. Okay. You got to remember that. And only a percentage of those people are going to want to or be in a position to do business with you. Okay. So you can't have your eyes on, you can't have your focus on all the people who don't answer the phone, or the people who hang up on you, or the people who say we've already relisted, or any number of other responses that you are going to get. Mm-hmm. Okay. What you're looking for is, I want the one, or I want the two today that I can find that I either can do business with now or I can do business with in the future. Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, if you get 5 people in a row that hang up on you, don't let that become your great excuse for the day to stop.
Mm-hmm.
and to say, well, okay, I tried it. I guess this doesn't work. On to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You've got to go in with the right expectation because it's a numbers game, not an emotional game. So having said that, typically, and again, I'm just throwing out some averages here. Okay. This depends on your skill level. It depends on how long you've been doing, these types of calls. But typically you might find 1 out of every 5 people who is actually a qualified lead. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit down, in a few minutes about what makes a qualified lead. But that point is don't worry about the 3 or 4 of the 5 that aren't qualified. Just realize that there's only a couple that you should be talking to that are probably going to qualify to do business with you. Okay. And I don't know about you, Monica, when you talk to your clients, but that's one of the other things I try to get them to understand is that it's okay to have standards.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to say, well, here's who I would like to try to find to do business with, and here's who I don't really want to do business with. I don't want to do business with people who don't need to sell. I don't have time to just, go out and take a look at their house for fun. I mean, if they need to sell, great. If they don't, I want to try to find someone who does.
Right.
All right. And you may decide in your market that you're going to set up a price point standard where it's like, I don't really want to focus on properties that are way down here at the bottom end, and I'm not necessarily shooting for the $1 million properties either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the point is find the ones who are qualified, typically 1 or 2 out of 5 people you speak to. All right. And then from there, you might find that out of every, say, 10 to 12, that you can actually set a qualified appointment right now. Whereas the remainder are probably going to be leads. Okay, that you have to pursue. And that really kind of ties into the second point that I'd written down is that you have to realize as you're making these calls that you have basically 3 options. Okay, there's like 3 options you can choose from of what you're going to do with that person. Okay, option number 1 is I'm going to close them for an appointment right now. Okay, that everything is lining up, right? All the standards have been met. They're qualified. They're motivated. They're ready to go. Man, I'm going for the appointment. Okay, and that's great when that happens. The second option is that you're going to put them in your follow-up system. Okay, and probably 80% or more of the appointments you actually go on, guys, are going to come from follow-up. Okay, so you got to understand that they may not be ready today, but you sense that there's motivation. You sense that they're serious about it. They're willing to be a little bit negotiable. They're just not ready today, and that's okay. And then the third option is that you are going to throw them away and you're never going to think about them again. And guys, that's okay too. It's okay to say, nope, this isn't somebody I want to continue to follow up with. And I'm just going to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Monica, I don't know, what thoughts do you have as far as that from your experience with expireds?
I'm thinking it's so brilliant to sort of go ahead and understand that you're looking to put people in one of 3 categories. That's your goal. Like, don't be attached to the outcome of
right.
Come list me. It's that I'm just digging through the stock of tomatoes. This is an analogy I heard. It's a bin of tomatoes at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And you don't pick up the rotten tomato and pick that one up and take it home, right? If it's squishy and rotten, you leave
right.
it. It's not for you. You pick up the ones that are ready to go or the green ones, depending on what your need is.
That's right. So
these are kind of the same. So no squishy tomatoes here.
That's right. No squishy tomatoes. And it's okay to take the green ones. You're just not going to eat them tonight in your salad. You know what I mean?
Right.
They got to take a little while. Okay.
Right.
That's a great point. And again, so it's like what I'm hoping this does is it brings you into this process of calling expireds with the mindset that, okay, I know what I'm looking for. And I know that I'm not going to convert every single person I speak to. That's not going to deflate me and discourage me and like totally bum me out. It's just, I know this is what's supposed to happen. It's what happens when anybody gets on the phone and calls expireds. I don't care how good you are. That agent, as good as they are, as many expireds as they've ever listed in their career, they still have to play the numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's okay. And it's good that you remember that. And then, like I said, just remind yourself that, okay, as I'm going through this conversation, I'm evaluating what I'm hearing, and that is going to help me decide which of these 3 categories. Mm-hmm. Do I try to close them? Do I put them into my lead system? Or do I just forget about them and move on and be okay with that? Okay. So it takes the urgency off of, okay, this one's got to be the one. It doesn't matter if number 1 on the list or number 8 on the list or number 30 on the list. I don't care which one is the good one. I just know there's some good ones out there. And my job is to contact as many of them as I can, be as dynamic and compelling, and get into rapport, ask my questions, find out who meets my standards, and that's who I'm going to pursue. Mm-hmm. So if you guys can take that on as your mindset for working expireds, man, that's going to set the stage for success right there.
I really love that. I love that we're just taking the pressure off some sort of like kicking the field goal. Like it doesn't have to be, or the touchdown, you know, it's not that. That's not what you're doing right there.
No, that's not. We're just playing a game today, right? And it's like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find the person that I know I can do business with today or in the future. And I know most of the rest of the people I speak to, it's not going to work out. And I'm cool with that because there's a lot of people to talk to out there.
Yeah, nor do you want to do business with half of the people. Like if they're angry at the time you're calling them, they're going to be really angry if you got their listing.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Pass.
Yeah. So, and that's good. That's why I say you got to remember that it puts you in control of the call. Like you get to decide basically. So guess what? If the person yells at you, swears at you, and hangs up on you, they've made it easy. Guess what? You're category number 3. I didn't even have to work at it. You qualified yourself for that group.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, let me kind of jump to the end real quick too and talk about this thing of practice, because again, we can go through a script. We can say, hey, check it out. Here's an example of a number of questions that you want to make sure that you ask. Okay. But there are skills that go along with that. Just handing you the script, giving you a set of words doesn't automatically guarantee that, bang, you're going to have listing appointments and you're going to have leads. You have to, there's a lot that goes into the art of communication, right? And there's a lot that goes into developing rapport because, guys, let's be honest, the expireds, especially after the first 15 minutes, you know what I mean? Like they don't really want to talk to you in some cases. They have a level of resistance. And this is the biggest challenge that agents have, is figuring out how do I get past the resistance, okay? And really, the truth is you got two main challenges with expireds. Getting people to actually pick up the phone, right, so that you can talk to them. And then secondly is once you've done that, is getting them to open up and share with you and answer your questions. So developing the skill of communication and rapport is a huge part of success with expireds. Okay, and I don't know, for you, is this something maybe, Monica, that you guys talk about a lot in your in some of your training sessions and coaching sessions where you just try to help these guys understand how to get people to talk to them?
Yes, it's one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had at one point in my business, is shifted from what I'm trying to get from them on the phone.
Yes.
To truly, I have a license. I can help them. Not everybody can help them. I have the ability to help them. Whether that'll look how I am imagining it or whether I'll help them some other way, I'm really going to go on that call, like you said, from contribution and not with the mindset of I got to get the listing from them, because that's where we feel like failure all the time if we don't. Yeah,
that's right. That's exactly right. And so again, like you said, the things you say, the way you say it need to come from a place where this person feels like, okay, here's what I tell clients all the time. You've got to try to get to the point in the conversation where they no longer see themselves as talking to a salesperson. They're talking to a human being. Mm-hmm. They're talking to another human being that they feel cares about what's going on and that can actually have the chance of helping them if they want it. Okay. Remember, not everybody wants the help right now. They may have their situation has changed, or they've already committed to somebody else, or who knows what, all the different things that can happen. But for the person that lines up with what you're looking for, they need to feel like, okay, man, this person wants to help. Mm-hmm. And so I can kind of let my guard down and talk to them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, practicing that, learning how to role play that, learning the art of just repetitious boredom. That was something my mentor talked about for a long time, probably still does, that phrase of repetitious boredom.
Yes.
A big part of what we do is just the same thing we did yesterday. It's the same thing we were doing in December. It's the same thing we're going to be doing in July this year. Mm-hmm. Okay, you've got to learn to master that. And again, there's an element of practice that goes into it. I remember hearing this great story about Curtis Strange, right? The golfer. He very, very successful golfer, especially in the 90s. And somebody had asked him, they said, what's the difference between an amateur golfer and a professional golfer? right? And he kind of thought about it for a second. He said, well, you know, the amateur golfer will go out, they'll play their round of golf, okay? They'll write down their score, and then at the end of the 18th hole, they're going to go to the clubhouse and grab a drink and a sandwich with their friends, okay? The professional golfer is going to go out, they're going to play their round of golf, they're going to write down their score, and then after they're done, they're going to go to the practice range for a couple of hours and work on the 2 or 3 shots they hated the most during that round of golf.
Love that. Love that. Go face the beast. Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, so guys, I'm telling you what, I would suggest you record your role plays. I would suggest you record your actual calls with expireds. And if you really want to be good, okay, and I'm assuming you're showing up on a call like this today, a training session like this, because either A, you want to learn about expireds, you've never really done them, or B, you want to start getting better results than you've gotten from working expireds in the past. Well, guess what? Both of those are going to be accomplished by taking ownership of your level of skills and your knowledge of what it takes to work expireds.
And the great news is this isn't like a super difficult skill that we're trying to master. It's not like, you know, juggling 6 flame thing. Like if you made 1,000 calls over the next, I don't know, however many months that would take you to expireds, your level of skill just by the repetition of the calls, when you say in general, that's enough practice, is just high volume too, right?
It is, for sure. You get better as you do it. You know, it's the old thing though, perfect practice makes perfect, right? Poor practice makes you better at being poor. So you want to, you know, you want to make sure that what you're doing is actually effective and you get the feedback from other agents who are good at it. That's why the role play is important. That's why recording your calls is important. So you can kind of go back and listen to yourself, but absolutely. You know, there's really no better way to get better than just go out and do it, figure out what's working, work on what's not working, and just stick with it, okay? In fact, I would say for all of you, if you don't already have this, set a goal this year. How many listings would you like to take from expireds this year? It could be 5, it could be 35, okay? But decide on that target and then just say, okay, well, what do I have to do to make that happen? And a big part of it is going to be understanding the dynamic of what happens when that expired listing picks up the phone and says hello. Okay, from that moment, learning how to get that person to talk to you, what questions to ask, and how to kind of bring that around to the point where they're either willing to let you come meet with them, maybe they're willing to let you come preview the property, or at the very least, they're willing to let you stay in touch for that day when they will finally be ready.
Absolutely. And you bring up asking questions, and Wayne mentions it here in the chat bar. That's probably one of the most powerful strategies, right?
Of what? I'm sorry, asking questions?
Asking questions, yeah. Of the conversation. You don't have to have this big pre-recorded script in your head as much as just some key questions to remember. That's
it. That's all script is, really. It's just a list of questions. It's a guideline for a conversation, excuse me, that is question-based. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. You want these people to, again, like I said a few minutes ago, to feel like they're just having a conversation with somebody. They're not being interrogated by a salesperson. They're not being pressured by a salesperson. They're just having a conversation about their situation, and you're trying to find out what's important to them and then show them how maybe by meeting with you, continuing to talk to you, etc., you can help meet the need that they have.
Yeah, perfect. Shannon wants to know if we could look at a few questions. Would you be willing to role play? I'll be the expired.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. I'm an expired that, I don't know, I don't know if we have to set the stage or not. I'm just an expired.
You're just an expired. Yeah, there's lots of variations on expireds. And we can talk about that. In fact, remind me that we'll kind of do this, but then a lot of agents, because in some markets, and especially last year and the year before, there weren't a lot, okay? Right. So you had to go back in time and call what we would call old expireds. So there's a little bit of a difference there maybe in that approach or strategy, but we'll talk about that.
Good point.
Okay, so again, this is an example of some questions that you probably are going to want to ask. It doesn't mean this is the only script out there, guys, but I want you to take away, okay, let me think about some of these questions, all right? So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, I was calling for Monica.
This is Monica. Is this a real estate agent?
How did you know? Monica, this is in fact James. I'm calling from XYZ Realty. So I have to ask, it sounds like you've probably had a lot of other calls from agents so far.
Please, this is really annoying. And I'm not relisting my house.
Okay, that's cool. How many have you had so far this morning? I mean, the good news is there's about 5,000 agents here in the local board. They haven't all called you so far, have they?
You're right. They haven't. No, but
Okay.
probably 10, and it's super annoying.
Yeah, I can understand. I'm sure I'd feel the same way if I were in your shoes. But look, I don't want to take a lot of time. Really, the reason I'm calling, quite honestly, is I just want to see if I can help because I noticed that your home came off the market as unsold. I mean, is that true? Did you guys get it sold or is it still available?
No, it never sold.
It didn't. Gosh, you're kidding. So, obviously it looks like you got a great property. I'm just kind of looking at some of these pictures. What do you think happened?
I think that, that's just not the right time. It was on during the winter, and that's just not the best time to sell your house.
Oh, gosh, interesting. Is that what your agent told you?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if they also shared with you, but really over the last 90 days, which would include some of October, November, December, we've actually been selling an average of 50 homes a month just in your kind of price point and in some of the communities around you. Did they tell you that as well?
No, and certainly they didn't get mine sold, so.
Yeah. So I'm sure that's why you're frustrated, right? Because properties are selling. So let me ask just real quick, if you had gotten it sold, a couple months ago or whatever, were you guys just staying here locally or were you kind of looking to head out of town? What were you guys hoping to do?
And we're just downsizing, so I don't even know if
Oh,
we're
okay.
going to sell at this point.
Okay. So you were looking to get something a little smaller, a little more manageable. Is that all you were hoping for?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, truth is there are a lot of buyers out there looking to buy homes like yours. So I just got to ask, let's say I called you tomorrow. Okay. And I said, Monica, you're not going to believe it. It's James again. I've actually found someone that loves your home. They want to write you an offer. What would you tell me? I mean, be honest. Would you say, forget it, I don't even want to look at it? Or would you, at least be willing to take a peek?
I'd be willing to take a peek.
Okay. That's what I was kind of hoping. So basically that tells me that if you knew you could get your property sold, you would still like to get that smaller home in a perfect world. Is that fair to put it that way?
Yeah, in a perfect world, but I think we'll need to take a break. So I appreciate you calling.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep you. One other quick question then. If I could get someone that wanted to buy your home, you would be willing to look at the offer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the only thing that's stopping that from happening is your home is no longer for sale. And really the only reason I was calling is I'd like to stop by and take a look and just find out a little bit more about your situation, find out if, there's some way we can get the home back on the market. I mean, honestly, what would stop you from taking another shot at finding that
buyer? I just don't know. I'm just so frustrated and I don't know you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't blame you for being frustrated because I know I would be frustrated as well. And the best way for us to get to know each other is just for us to meet. I mean, if I took 5-10 minutes out of your time, stop by, brought you some information about the market, because it doesn't sound like your agent really kept you up to date on what's going on. I think you'd be surprised to take a look at what's actually been happening in our market. I mean, would that be of value to you guys to look at that?
Maybe, although, she's coming over tonight to discuss the same, next steps. So I need to probably talk to her first.
Oh, who's that? It's coming over?
The agent.
Oh, you mean your previous agent?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess if you had to choose, would you want to go ahead and give the listing back to her for another shot, or would you be open to taking a look at another strategy? I mean, be honest. What would you really like to do?
I'll probably give it back to her just because I know her and she didn't really get a fair shot through the winter.
Okay. Now, again, given the fact that so many other homes sold and she did have several months, I mean, yeah, my job isn't to throw her under the bus, but how much value would there be in just taking a look at another opinion? Just being able to compare apples to apples. Would there at least be some value in having something to compare to?
Maybe.
Okay, because that's all I'm looking to do. You know what? Let's say we sit down together, 20 minutes or so. I go through my marketing plan. I answer all your questions. I show you what the market's doing. And you know what? At the end of our meeting, if you're still going to say to me, you know what, James, I appreciate you coming over, but I still think my best bet is to go back with my previous agent. You know what? That's fine. At least you can make that decision with even more peace of mind because you'll have done your homework, right? I mean, you'll have looked at your options because you don't want this to happen again, do you?
No.
Okay.
So why don't you call me back tomorrow after I have a chance to talk with her tonight?
Okay. Well, truth is, I'm going to be in your neighborhood later today. And what I could do, if it's okay, is just at least drop off some information for you to look at. And then maybe we could set up a time for me to come by tomorrow. Are you going to be home maybe around 5 today?
Yeah. You can drop something off.
Okay. Yeah. I'd like to stop by, at least get in front of you, shake your hand, bring you the information, and then we can talk about what makes sense as far as our next meeting. Fair enough?
That sounds good.
Okay. So I'll see you at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So that's one possibility of where you might go with something like that.
And you didn't your questions just kept coming. You weren't selling, you weren't telling, you were just continuing questions to stay.
Trying to find out, was there enough? I thought of this a couple of years ago because I was kind of thinking about the whole concept of what prospecting used to mean, like 150, 200 years ago. Prospecting in the sense of looking for gold, right? And so you'd have somebody that would head out into the hills with their axe or their shovel or their pickaxe or sluice pan or whatever, and they were just going to sit there and dig, right? And their job was to move enough dirt and hopefully find a few little nuggets that they could take home, right? Mm-hmm. Same job we have, right? You got to go through the numbers and you got to talk to enough people to find the nuggets. Mm-hmm. And if you think of questions as being your tools, right? So as you probe, it's like the pickaxe, peeling the layers, peeling back the situation, right? To see if there's a nugget down there of motivation or something that we can play off of. And the reality is the prospectors couldn't create the gold in the ground. They could only dig to find out if it was there. So I can't give you motivation, right? I can only keep asking questions and try to find out, is there enough motivation for you to at least be willing to sit down, give me a shot, let me share with you what I can do, and then you got to decide which is your best option.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I noticed too, that you never tried to sell yourself or give her any sort of data. Your 100% of your purpose was to secure an appointment. There was no other agenda.
Yeah, to at least try to meet with her, if nothing else, and then you kind of threw in the thing about your other agent coming over. So it's kind of like, well, I at least want to get my foot in the door before you do that. Because I'm thinking if I just wait till tomorrow, if that agent's any good at all, they're going to rope you into another contract. So I at least want to try to get some rapport and, stop by, shake your hand, show you some information, mm-hmm. Treat enough to where you might say to your agent, well, look, you know what? I at least want to hear what this guy has to say. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hoping for at this point. And again, numbers game. I may not get it. I'm okay with that because I'm just going to keep playing this game enough times.
Yeah. So if that wouldn't have gone exactly how it did, and I would have hung up on you or flat out said no.
Yeah. Sometimes those are the best. Sometimes those are almost better for agents in a situation like this to see, because that's reality. Mm-hmm. Okay. The best of the best of the best get hung up on all day long. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay? And that's just part of it. It's kind of like, I said this to a client the other day. I said, if you want to be a professional boxer, you have to accept the fact you're going to get punched in the face.
Right.
I mean, that's just part of the game, right? So being hung up on, yelled at, all that happens to everybody. It's not because you're doing something wrong or you didn't say it right, or, maybe expired just doesn't work in my marketplace. No, it's because that's what happens anytime, anywhere. Real estate professionals call expired listings.
Because they're pissed off.
Yeah, they are.
They're upset.
That's it. And, you just try to validate that. Yeah, I get it. I would feel the same way if I were you. But look, real quickly, the reason for my call was not to bother you, but I want to see if I could help.
Yeah.
So say that to them.
Right. Love it. Good. Okay. Shannon, hope that helps. Good. Okay. If she hung up, would you follow up or leave it? If I had just been like, okay, no, I got to go, and hung up.
Yeah, that's a great question. And part of the answer depends on a few things. First of all, how busy are you? Okay. I mean, if you're a fairly productive agent that's got a lot going on and you're regularly generating strong leads and appointments, you may not have time. If you happen to have somebody on your team that could follow up on your behalf, that might be an option. But if you're maybe a newer agent or you're an agent who doesn't have a lot going on right now and you would have the time, I would probably call that person back. Mm-hmm. I'd wait maybe till the next day, or if you're going to be in the area, remember, face-to-face rapport is so much stronger. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I try to tell my clients all the time is create your door knocking circle. Okay, around wherever you work out of, whether it's your house or a physical office, create a circle on the map that's maybe 10 to 15 minutes in every direction. Okay, so any expired that falls in that circle is fair game to go to the door. And I'm telling you right now, for you guys, if you haven't already figured this out, a lot of people don't pick up the phone. Okay. And that becomes one of the most common excuses that I hear from agents as to why they're not working expireds more, is because, well, nobody answers the phone. Yeah, I know they don't. So you have to keep trying. There's some techniques you can try to get more people to pick up. But in some cases, especially if it's a great price point, a nice property, a highly desirable area, and it's nearby, man, you got to go get in front of that person, okay? And try to catch them face to face, because not always, but people will generally talk to you. They're a little more likely to talk to you at the door than they are on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
So on a hang up, are you saying that perhaps there's two categories of hang ups? One, the person hung up and they do not want to hear from you, and that was really clear, like, don't call me back or stop calling me or whatever.
Yes.
And then there's, I don't have time to talk right now, click. And maybe that was an excuse, but they didn't say, don't call me back.
Exactly, yeah. And you know what? There are some agents out there that would call back or work them anyway. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but there are a lot of agents that it wouldn't matter what they said. They were going to try them again. Yeah. But yeah, generally speaking, yeah, you got to use your discretion. You got to use your common sense on who you're going to try to reach again. I can remember back during the last, major downturn in the market from, say, 2008 and 9 and 10 and 11, that one of the most common things that expireds were saying at that time to agents was, we've decided we're not selling. We've taken our home off the market. We're not moving. And a lot of times that would be followed by a hang up, right? Mm-hmm. And so I can remember I was actually working with Mike Ferry at the time, and there were a lot of us coaches that were all hearing this from all of our clients. And so I remember a meeting that we had, a conference call where we were talking about this. And we actually kind of came up with a strategy to tell our clients to just automatically try those same people back 2 or 3 days later and test their story. Okay, mm-hmm. Just to see, were they really serious about not moving? Because a lot of times they're just frustrated. They're just upset. They've had a bad day or whatever. So again, I'm not saying you have to do that, but you've got to look at your situation and say, you know what, do I have the time? And am I hungry enough to really find people that I can do business with, that I'm willing to call them again, check back again, see if they tell me the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Bruce has a question. When calling an expired, do you leave a message? This is age-old. Yes, you do. Okay.
Great question. Yeah, I think so. Now, again, there's, people who would say, just move on, man, get through the calls, and that's fine. But see, if I'm making cold calls, one is as good as the next, pretty much, right? We have no reason to think that anybody on any given street is any more likely to buy or sell than the next person. But with an expired, that is a specific person that has already raised their hand. And at one point, they were at least wanting to sell their property. So I want to do whatever I can to try to talk to that person, which would include trying to get them to call me back. Okay? Now, lots and lots of options you have there. I've heard so many different messages over the years. Some agents, hey, check it out. If I know why your home didn't sell, give me a call. Or they'll say things like, look, I want the chance to talk with you about how I'm selling 8 homes every single month. I know I can get yours home too. They're trying to impress them with their track record in a voicemail. Most of those don't work. Okay. The only one that I've ever really seen that seems to get a percentage of people to actually call you back is where you're a little bit vague, right? And you just basically say, hey, this is James with XYZ Realty. I had some questions for you about your property there on Banana Street. It's important. I tried to talk to you today. If you could give me a call when you get this message, you can reach me at such and such a number. I look forward to hearing from you.
Because they don't know if you have a buyer or what. Yeah, right.
And you're not trying to be deceptive. You're not trying to hint or, you're just saying, I have some questions. Mm-hmm. So it's important if we get a chance to talk today, call me at such and such a number. Now, again, expectations, okay? I don't want you to, leave this webinar thinking, okay, man, that's the magic pill. Everybody's going to call me back. No, they're not, okay? You might get a couple out of 10 that'll call you back. So guess what? You got to call them again.
Yeah.
But at least leave a message with an expired, because that person had an interest in selling. And the only way we're going to decide what to do with them is to get to talk to them. Mm-hmm. So if they'll call us back, great.
Do you think there's an element of winning business just because you are the guy that has called back 10 times and
find it happens?
People? Yeah.
I've had so many clients over the years tell me that expireds have told them that they appreciate their tenacity. You were the only one that kept following up with me. Again, it's not everybody, but my attitude is you've got to decide that this is important enough that you're willing to really make a serious effort. And calling a particular expired once or twice, maybe even 3 times, I think you can do better. I mean, and again, you got to decide how important are your goals, how big are your goals. But I usually tell my clients, make at least 6 to 8 attempts to try to get a hold of that person over a period of, maybe 4, 5, 6 days, and try to incorporate a door knock if they're within that circle. I don't want you driving 45 minutes to go knock on some random expired, but try to get to the door, call at different times. Okay. Take one evening a week, and all the expired you're having a hard time reaching from, 6:30 to 7:30 at night, or 7 to 8 o'clock at night. Try getting a hold of them because they're more likely to be home.
Yeah.
So again, it's so much of the ultimate success you have is determined by the level of effort you put into getting that result.
Makes sense. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Good stuff.
So, were there a couple other questions, by the way? Or?
No, we're keeping up with them. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel free to ask more questions, guys. These are great.
Yeah, I love the questions. And these are all questions that, you hear all the time. And what that tells me is you're engaged, right? You're wanting to figure this out. So I guess, again, I want to just kind of reiterate the fact that rapport and acknowledging what people say and trying to be natural in the questions that you ask, okay? There are basically, my view of it is there's 2 types of sales questions. There's qualifying questions and there's closing questions, okay? So and remember, what we're looking for is the person motivated? Do they still want to sell the home? Remember the question I asked you, Monica? I said, hey, let me ask you a question. If I called you back tomorrow and I said, man, you're not going to believe it, I found a buyer. They want me to write you an offer. What would you tell me?
Yeah, you're qualifying me there.
I'm trying to see what would you do? And you said, well, I'd probably take a peek at it. Well, that tells me there's still a spark. There's still an ember of motivation there that if you had the chance and it were, easy and that you'd go for it, right? You'd still like to sell the home. So I need to find out motivation. I want to try to find out time frame. How soon would you like to do it? I need to try to find out, are you already committed? You kind of brought that up for me, right? And mentioned the other agent. So my point is your qualifying questions are designed to help you answer those things. But the qualifying can't come across like you're being nosy, you're being intrusive. You need to use the upswing in those situations to let people know that you're just curious, you're interested, you're just trying to find out about them, right? You're very interested in what they have to say. And that has to come across in tone, not just the question, okay? Not just the words in the script. Yeah. Now, when it comes time to close and ask for a commitment, that's when you use the downswing, the little more authoritative, a little more confident. That's when that becomes important. So hopefully
For instance, what kind of a closing question?
Well, for like when I said, well, listen, let me ask you, what I'd love to do is just sit down with you for maybe 20 minutes and go through my marketing plan and answer your questions and at least get you up to date on the market. I've got time to do that at 6 tonight or again at maybe 6:30, which is better. So I'm asking you for something. I'm asking you to commit to meeting with me, or I'm asking you to do, usually that's what it is. That's really what you're looking for is an appointment.
Right.
So that would be the closing question.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the question? And I guess it's kind of a closing question in some way. If I could show you, a way that you could net the same, the amount of money you wanted to, would you go back on the market or something like that? I know we use that for FSBO a little bit.
Yeah, for FSBO, that's, yeah. I mean, that may come, a lot of times the questions are, what's the word I'm looking for? They're sort of dictated by the flow of the conversation, right?
Yes.
So yeah, there may be a situation where they would, when I asked you, well, what do you think happened? Well, I don't know. I think we really wanted our price and we needed a certain amount of money. And I don't know that we'll be able to get our money. Right. So that may lead to a question where I say, well, listen, it sounds like if you knew that you could get a certain amount of money at the end of the day, that you'd still be open to listing the home. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wayne says, could you explain up and down? Little simple. The tonality of at the end of the question. Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you a very basic qualifying question. Okay. So So Monica, let me ask you a question. If you guys had gotten the property sold back when it was for sale, where were you going?
Same neighborhood.
Okay. Now, did you notice how I asked that at the end? I said, where were you going? It was more of a downswing.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like I'm almost interrogating you, or I'm being nosy because of the tonality where it goes, the tone drops at the end of the question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Whereas if you're just coming from curiosity and you're just interested to try to get them to open up and answer that question, I would rather do it like this, where I'd say, so Monica, let me ask you a question. If you guys had actually gotten that home sold, back when it was for sale, where were you guys going? Were you going to stay here locally or move out of the area?
You go, where are you going?
Yeah, exactly. That's how we convey curiosity with our tone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if they feel, a lot of times, they don't want to answer your questions because they feel like, well, that's none of your business, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes they'll say that to you anyway. Don't get me wrong. You're going to get all kinds of responses. Mm-hmm. But you're less likely to get that if they feel from your tone that you are just, again, you're interested. You're curious.
It's sort of the parental thing too, like when your mom would say, oh, where are you going versus where are you going?
Yeah, where are you going?
You're in trouble with that.
Yes, exactly. Right. So hopefully that helps you.
Yeah, Wayne, hope that helps. What the up and down is just the tonality, and the up is a little less threatening in some way, or a little less firm. Yeah, exactly. And then, like I said, when you need to have confidence, when you're closing, when you're saying, look, the truth is, I know I can help you. That's what I call a statement of confidence. Sometimes you need to throw that in, and that's said with a downswing. Mm-hmm. Because if I said to you, well, I know I can help you. Right. Really? Are you sure? It's just, it's got this weak, unsure, uncertain feel to it, and it's not going to work. Okay. Yeah, you don't close with an upswing. That's true. That's right. All right. Melissa asked, what is your past or old expired strategy? You mentioned that earlier. Yes. Basically, it's got some similarities to the quote unquote newer expired, but I sort of call it the roll back, roll forward. Because what we're trying to do is go back and confirm what their motivation was and then roll forward and see if they'd still be willing. So I kind of did that a little bit with you on this call, but basically old expired, you call them up, hey, ring, ring, this is James with XYZ Realty. The reason for my call is I was doing some research in the computer and I came across your property there on Banana Street. It looks like you guys had that for sale like a year or so ago and it came off the market. Is that true? And we did try to sell it and then we changed our mind. You changed your mind. Okay, interesting. So let me just ask you, if you knew for sure that you could get your home sold in today's market, would you guys have any interest at all in, putting the property back up for sale at this point? No. Okay. So even if I called you tomorrow and I said, you know what, believe it or not, I got a buyer. They love your house. They wanted me to write you an offer. Would you basically tell me to tell them, forget it? Or would you at least want to take a look? I mean, be honest. Do you have a buyer? I don't, but I'm just curious. If I could go out and find you one and they loved your house and they wanted to write an offer to you, what would you tell them? Would you say, nope, home no longer for sale, go buy something else? Or would you, want to take a peek at that? What do you think? It would have to be the right offer for sure, but maybe. For sure, yeah, that would be the only way it would make sense, right? Is it had to be the right offer. But it sounds like if the right offer were presented to you, you'd still consider it. Is that fair to put it that way? Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. Okay. So there's the little crack of doubt, right? Yeah. The little well, okay. So now what we got to do is try to play off of that and say, well, look, you know what? Why don't I just stop by? Can you? And I try to find out, of course, well, what were you hoping to do? What was important to you about selling? So we got to find that out before you can try to close them. But that's really the old expired. It's just a slight. What I hope everybody took note of is I said no, and you didn't say, okay, goodbye. Right. You asked one more question. I mean, I flat out said no. Yes, you did. And I think a lot of people would peel out there. Yeah. Out of politeness or something, but one more question revealed the crack. Yes, exactly. And it might not always. The next time it might be, I said no, click. No, okay. Right. No. I guess you're category number 3, right? Right. Exactly. I mean, you're going to get it. I'm just trying to go as far as I can go with the conversation. When you are helping agents with the expired strategy, do you have a preference, or how you maybe ran it? Do you say, I'm going to do this for an hour, or I'm going to try to dial 10 times, or I'm going to try to have 10 conversations? Do you measure your day in one of those versus the other?
Yeah, again, that does depend from one agent to the next. I think some agents need to have, I remember, I don't even know how long, probably 15 years ago, there was a lady in St. Louis who, very high I, okay, so you can appreciate this, and it was very hard for her to just sit there and dial and dial and dial without being distracted by everything, right? So I had her go buy an hourglass, and I said, put it on your desk and turn it over. That is your anchor. You don't leave the desk until all the sand runs through. So you just call for that hour, right? And then you can take a break and do what you got to do for a few minutes, and then come back, turn it over, do your second hour. So for some agents, it's easier to just kind of say, okay, man, I got 30 minutes of this, or I got X number of hours. For others, it's contacts, right? Or dials or whatever. So I think it depends. But yes, to your point, you need to have some measuring stick, I guess, that you use, whether it's time or contacts or dials.
Yeah, for sure.
To say, look, I got to keep going here. I can't just play with this idea. I've got to commit to, this is what I'm doing today. I'm going to go until I reach 10 people, or I'm going to go until I've at least made 50 dials or 100 dials, or done it for an hour and a half or whatever.
Yeah, sure. And what that also does is gives you the consistency over time, gives you evidence to then work with and practice differently. Is it that you can't seem to get one appointment, but you're getting 20 conversations? Okay, now we know we need to focus on what you're saying, because you're simply getting the at-bats, it's not closing. Or is it that you're not getting anybody pick up the phone? All right, well, then maybe we need to call at a different time in your area.
Yeah, that's right.
But we have to have that data so that we can look at the evidence, right?
Yep. Tracking your numbers is so important. And I mentioned it earlier, recording. Think about a manufacturing factory company, right? On their assembly line, well, they have a department that's called QC or whatever, quality control. And their whole job is to come out to the assembly line every day and grab at random X number of pieces or completed units or whatever it is they've got, and take it back to their little lab and test it to make sure it does what they claim it does. Okay. So what is your QC? Like, do you have a way to measure how you sound? Are you asking questions, or are you telling? Are you closing at least 3 or 4 times, or pushing through, or are you just giving up at the first sign of resistance? Do you sound energetic and interested, or do you sound monotone and flat and I'm just trying to get an appointment? You know what I'm saying? Like, how would you know that unless you can go back and listen?
Yeah, you got it. Okay. Great point. Awesome. All right, we're winding down here. I want to make sure that the group knows how they can get some more Coach James if they want more Coach James, and if you had any closing thoughts.
Yeah, let's start with the closing thoughts first. Working expireds and getting listings from expireds, just like pretty much anything else, doesn't have to be complicated. Okay, one of the things I'm always trying to do is just simplify the process. Okay, so in its simplest form, you've got to obviously have good data, right? Which is a whole separate subject, and that's one of the reasons that we do this. If you guys are not getting your data with Espresso Agent, you should be, right? Because that's which part of what you guys do so well is you provide the numbers, the dialer, the whole system. Okay. So definitely, if you're watching this right now and not a customer of theirs, then, you need to talk to them about that. But so let's assume you've got your numbers, right? You commit to your time, you make your calls, you've got the list of questions, the script, whatever you want to call it, and you're playing the numbers game. Your understanding should be that, okay, I'm not going to win my entire year today. I'm not going to list 10 properties today and be done with expireds for the year. This is a process. So just walk it out. Okay. Make your calls, take notes if you need to, about what's working, what's not working, so you know what to work on in your role play, and just play the game. Right? Just get out there. And if you need some help, or you're just not getting the results that you would like to be getting, that's where you can say, for coaching, for example, right, where you can get involved. You can have me come alongside and evaluate, help you get better, look at your numbers, role play with you, just help you find out where the weaknesses are, and then try to fix them. So yeah, so if you're interested in that, if you're interested in coaching, you can go to my website, coachjameshoughtaling.com. You can find me on Facebook. Just search James Houghtaling. You'll find my business page, and we'll set up a call.
Yeah, do you offer just an initial call just to kind of see if there's something that you can help with? Okay.
Yep. On the website, there's an evaluation thing you can fill out that just kind of asks you some questions, what you'd be looking for, where are your strengths, weaknesses, what kind of production do you do, what are your goals? That may be the easiest way to start. Just fill that out.
Yeah.
It'll get emailed to me, and we can set up a time to talk.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
James, thank you so much again for your time. Great information. And I hope everyone on this call will take a few of these nuggets and go get into action. Like you said, exactly. It makes no sense to sit through an hour.
That's right.
Valuable time and then not go apply any of it. So
yeah. So figure out your takeaways. Okay. Even if it's one thing that you heard that you say, yeah, man, I got to do that. Well, go do it. Okay. Get it into practice and then check back. Let us know how you're doing.
Absolutely. All right, Coach, we'll see you next time.
You bet. Thanks again. Appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day.
See you guys. Thanks, guys, for joining us. See ya.
Bye.